let's do this. So same attack. Yeah. Crossover. We have a movement. Okay. Now, a famous event in our culture was the fight in Zaire, right, with Muhammad Ali and George Foreman when he was a young monster, right? Ali was older. He couldn't beat Foreman, the young monster, monster to monster. So what did Ali do? He came up with a rope-a-dope, which means he leaned into the rope. He inclined his body this way. So basically he wasn't taking a hit this way. And he let Foreman exhaust himself, you know? And so this is a little bit like the rope-a-dope. Okay, boom. Yeah. Now I'm not leaning into the rope here, but what I am doing is I'm supported by the back of me in the energy field. I'm rotating the hips and we have this side tree. Okay. Ali had a plan. There's a documentary on it and he worked a lot because he knew Foreman could hit. And so a lot of Ali's free bout stuff was getting people to hit him. So he was like, okay. In other words, filling his own body with vital force, right? Because he knew he was going to get hit and this guy could really hit. He didn't want to take the hit here. So Foreman just, and he just kept rolling off of it. And he was supported by the rope, wasn't he? Now the question is, there was a rope. Who was the dope? It was Foreman, who kept exhausting himself trying to hit. Because all I knew was how to hit. I hit better than everybody else. And I hit harder and faster. And all they said, come on. And then after a couple of rounds of that, Foreman had spent his energy and Ali went and finished him off. Right? So, but the rope, without that rope there to support him, Ali couldn't have gotten his angle where everything bounced off of him. Well, of course, he was helping it. And he was in shape, obviously. But so what we're doing right here is the rope-a-dope. I'm not leaning back, but there's energy supporting me. Now, right about here, eventually Ali said, okay, now I'm going to go fight you now that you don't quite have all that juice anymore. Rope-a-dope. Okay? Now, this is sort of an Aikido rope-a-dope. Now, the number one thing here, I don't want to be the dope. Ali made Foreman the dope. You don't want to make yourself the dope and react out here. Okay, why don't we change the angle? Because I look at these things and I'm going, oh my God. Now we get enough of an angle, this hand can come in, we can finish by stepping in. That rope Ali had is symbolic of the floating bridge for a boxer. Okay? Something was his outlaw. And you could say it was his intelligence, and Foreman had all the physical gifts and the youth and the power, and Ali said, I'm not going to beat you that way. But I have a strategy. I'm going to be very receptive, let you wear your positive out, and then. Okay, right? So we're doing the same thing right here. You're good. Rotate the hip. Now counter rotate the hip, and you got the space for that motion. Touch, that, fill, enter. Okay, let's go. Same partner. Yeah. Yeah. One of the things that is important is that a lot of blended Aikido is you're rolling off of the attack. For example, you're coming in, I'm receiving attack, I'm going to roll off of it. I'm going to charge right into you. No, I'm going to roll off of it. Yeah. So your motion is economical. I mean, in Ollie's case, he made Foreman the dope. Foreman had all the gifts. Foreman was supposed to win. Ollie was older and he lost before, and Foreman was undefeated and an Olympic champion. And Ollie just was beautiful, especially for us older folk, you know. Okay, so right here, you know, what did I just do? Instead of fighting you, I rolled off of you. Now right here, instead of charging at you, I'm going to roll off you when I'm coming in. Then we have a move, don't we? Yeah. Yeah. Now you're at a circular movement. If you come with a striking motion, here's like, I'm going to roll off of you. And then I'm going to roll, you know, counter roll. You know, we could do the same thing with that striking motion, touch, touch, roll, counter roll, boom. Or conversely, we could kind of roll and continue to roll. And all of a sudden we go here. When you come back up, we kind of roll and boom. All right. Now we're not doing that motion, but you feel the smooth rolling action. All right. I went to a soccer game, and afterwards, my granddaughter comes up to me and she goes like that. Yeah, yeah. It's just, I'm gonna punch grandpa. You know, like a good. You know, so if you're coming in, it's like, I'm gonna roll off of what you're doing, right? I'm gonna roll off of what you do, right? In fact, you know, all these rope adults, he was just rolling off of all of, you know, he wasn't just like, he was glancing below and he let Foreman exhaust himself. You couldn't take him face to face, power to power. So he just let Foreman be the dope. Guess what happened? Foreman transformed. His whole personality changed. He wasn't that thug he was before. He turned into kind of an articulate, intelligent guy who sold barbecues, right? Even sympathetic, and he learned about boxing. He was when you know he was in 40 years old, and he held heavyweight title, right? He learned from all those. He wasn't the dope anymore, right? All right. So the rope a dope is kind of an interesting one because it kind of is yeah, it's just you know, because we all place ourselves in a dope position. Kind of roll, roll, create. And you know, my granddaughter starts coming up to me and she starts, yeah, like, oh, I go like that, boom. I come on in again. It's like, boom, I go like that. And she didn't know I was kind of just, I'm punching grandpa. I said, yes, you are. And she just came up to me and she just starts throwing punches at me. So I start rolling with him, right? But if you come in this direction, of course, you're going to roll here, right? Rolling energy, right? You come in, you're like, boom, we're going to roll this one. Okay. Smooth, easy. Even standard Aikido attacks, so I'm going to do that. I'm going to roll off of that. You see what I mean? Roll off of it. I'm not gonna push your power. But you're giving me a gift here. I'm just gonna, boom, whatever, you're down there. Now you need some rope time. You see, in a sense, we can see all of Aikido in terms of that crazy heavyweight bout. We're all the dope. So we need to find a rope or ability to be flexible, do what's not conventional. Not conventional somebody to lean on, take punches for a couple of rounds, but all he did. But he had a strategy. And guess what? Foreman was a better guy for it, for the defeat. So he learned, right? Yeah. One thing I kind of want you to, if you're here, for example, you're rolling, rolling. So he's coming at me. And I'm set. Now I'm going to roll, and I'm going to counter roll. Right? You're coming at me. A little bit of roll. I'm going to counter. Whatever. Slightly different configuration. I'm just going to roll out to your power. Ali didn't tell Foreman, you got to age 10 years so I have a chance with you. Age 10 years so I have a chance with you, to Foreman. He wasn't going to do that. But he let Foreman exhaust himself, so in some sense, he just rolled off of it. Right now, we don't do the whole thing with hitting and everything, but if you're coming in this direction, so I'm rolling here, I'm going to counter roll. So now all of a sudden, what else is here? And I'm right about here. I'm going to roll off of you here. Then I'm going to roll back the other way. Yeah. Right? Or if you're coming in this direction, boom, we go this way, we go that way. Okay, we got this motion. We roll off of you that way. Okay? Right? Okay. Okay, good. See, we practice rolling, back rolls, forward rolls, everything like that. A lot of Aikido is rolling energy is neutralizing energy. You're going to receive an attack, all right? But you roll with it. You're like Ali. He wasn't just leaning back on taking all these. He was kind of rolling with Foreman's best hits, which I would not want to try. Okay, he was rolling. He was an uke. All right, you see what I mean? What uke does is, as uke, you're learning to roll, aren't you? But also as the nage, you're receiving an attack. So in some sense, uke means to receive. You roll with the attack until the attacker becomes the uke, not you. I'm a nage. No, you're an uke because you blend with the attack, and then you're the nage. And conversely, the attacker, what we label uke, is the positive force coming in, the incoming. But there's a transformation, so that positive force becomes receptive. Okay? And so the rolling motion, okay? Ah, rolling, rolling, neutralizing, inviting. And when I get that, all of a sudden, you go, oh my gosh, it's very easy with things. Something told Ali, preparation for that bout, practice taking hits. He spent a lot of his time, of course, warming up, sparring with people that he paid, but nobody he paid was going to be George Foreman. But it was kind of funny. I'm paying you to hit me. I'm going to practice that. And then right in the middle, he leaned against the rope to support him and kind of rolled with Foreman's best hits until Foreman wasn't formidable anymore. Brilliant strategy. What's the rope for us? The rope is energy. It supports us to roll with the incoming force. We're easy. Easy. All that. He was kind of doing an Aikido Tai Chi leaning against the rope. Couldn't have done it without the rope, though. The rope was the support. And so if we look at what Osensei was doing, he was standing in this almost mythically powerful energy place he called the floating bridge of heaven. And there's a relationship between the ability to float and the ability to roll. When you're floating, you're not going anywhere. When you're moving on that floating bridge, you're rolling. Not physically or chemi-wise, but your energy. You're neutralizing the incoming force. Thank you. The attacker gets to be George Foreman. Well, you get to be Ali on the rope. Okay? I'm using a sporting event because it's in everybody's mental vocabulary about rope-a-dope and everybody up. So wherever you are, you're standing on something that is supporting you. Easy there. What is it? Energy, chi. But since they could stand on the purest, finest chi and be himself and function and create all this magic there, that's probably the floating bridge for him. And to be honest with you, what happened is that nobody was interested in it because, we're into the techniques. And so he said, the first thing you must do, and if it's the only thing you ever do regarding Aikido, you must make yourself stand on the floating bridge of heaven. That was Ali's rope. And he also had given himself enough rope to let Foreman hit him for a couple of rounds and float like a butterfly against the rope. If he just stayed upright and traded punches with him or tried to float like a butterfly, Foreman's going to win. Ali was going to get tired and Foreman would finish him off. Instead, it was the exact opposite, right? So the rope, we're standing in it. Easy there. Flexible there. Feeling the motion on that floating bridge. There are waves. It's a floating bridge. It's not a metal bridge or wooden bridge. You feel energy swirling, moving. You're easy with it. I'm studying, I'm going to understand it. Okay. I'm going to let go enough to kind of feel it. That's good. At some point, the feeling becomes more like a sensing. So in other words, you're going to go this way, I'll go this way, but I'm on that route. And then at that point, there's a consolidation. What happened is Ali came out of that bout and world champion IB. He was the champ, not Foreman. And that's all crazy Western sports. And we get in trouble there's no reward for it in Aikido. You may get a rank or a title or something like that, but you're not going to be the world champion. But you can be the champion of your own Aikido universe by understanding how to stand there. Okay. Let me see. I'm looking at I'm rolling here. All right. I'll go over here. Boom. And she's saying after all, she's rolling with me. Boom, 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 boom. I gotta stay on camera. You know, I realize a lot of my good stuff doesn't make it. But for example, here, the boom, kind of rotate, particular. We got this motion across, keep turning, take a step, you kind of rotate and change. Now here, I set through that. Now I got George Foreman throwing all the, but he's hitting my strongest area, my core. Right? He's an idiot. He's a dope. And I keep doing that. But all of a sudden there's a reversal. And I go finish him off and win the heavyweight title. There's no heavyweight title here. Finishing us off here is winning over the dope inside me. Ultimately, they're just like, huh? So what's the dope do? Dope goes here, sets, and goes like that. So easy, easy. And right about here, instead of setting it easy, to the Kotegaeshi move, what we just did, take it into a Kotegaeshi movement. Okay, let's change partners. Yeah. Yeah. One of the things right there, okay, is for example, he's here. We're going to go this way. You're expanding. You're all the on the ropes, but that's where you know you have to be. You're not taking those hits, you're rolling them. Let Foreman totally screw himself over because that's what he did. So when you grab, okay, first of all, this is good. Okay, but feel that? Change here. Roll with it. Now, see how this opens up here? It opens up. It's all opening. either Ali was stupid because he was just on the ropes letting Foreman hit him, or he had a plan. Mainly he had to knock Foreman out because they score points, right? Foreman's getting all the points because Ali wasn't doing anything. So Ali went out there, and when Foreman was all kind of punched out and punched himself out, Ali didn't punch him out until the end. Okay, you got in, right? So one of the things here is easy there. Put yourself on that floating platform. Okay, now right there, just rest your hand like on a pillow and let the wave take you. Okay, good. Okay? And when the wave is taking me, counter rotate your hips. Okay, now you're going to pivot into my blind angle. Good, and right about there, that space. If I'm, all he had to be in this big space to take all that punishment and still be able to get up and knock him out. Good. Get me some more. Yeah, I begin to feel you. Your energy's starting to leave you. Keep doing it. Finally, he went out there and that's brilliant strategy, right? Yeah. Sometimes you're facing something you can't win. So you have to have a strategy. You have to, in some sense, understand things other than just the obvious, right? Okay. Okay. Let's look at and Ali, his first couple of rounds or whatever, he realizes Foreman is younger, stronger, and Ali can't necessarily in his usual banter get into his head. So it's almost like, even though he's done some preparation by taking all these hits, he has to come up with a strategy to beat Foreman. Now, the other thing, we go into Miyamoto Musashi. He challenges this whole sword school in Kyoto, right? And so finally what happens is they put the guy up, but it's just a ruse. Ali's gonna, I mean, not Ali, but Musashi's gonna come in and the whole sword school is gonna attack him and kill him. Because one-on-one, nobody can beat him. And really what happens, he can't really beat a whole sword school, or can he? Well, one thing he does, he scouts the terrain. There are rice fields. And he spends, he's able to fight himself to the rice fields, right? The whole school's trying to get him. And there's these things, rice field, there are these narrow things separating the two, right? So he gets there. Everybody that comes at him from the side gets stuck in the mud, right? And the guys that come at him on that narrow, he kind of does his two-sword style. And he fights his way out, runs to safety. He beats the whole school, which is an impossibility, except he did. Now, in that particular situation, who was the dope? It was the whole sword school. They had a malicious, dishonorable thing to save their own honor. And Musashi beat him against impossible odds. So what did he have? Well, just like Ali, he was intelligent. And something forewarned Ali that he should probably get used to taking and how you take punches from this guy who's probably the, Foreman had formidable power and he was young. And he was cocky enough, he wasn't going to be intimidated by Ali. So Ali had to come up with something. The rope-a-dope was his version of Musashi and the rice field. Okay? But, he was not going to face the whole sword school. They had archers trying to shoot him. If you watch the movie anyway, I don't know what the real thing was because we're not in the 16th century anymore. But, so here we're not fighting something impossible, but what we are doing is winning over our inner dope. You see? Yeah. We tend to kind of force things, lock. We don't see the full picture of what's going on, and we obviously don't see the full picture of who we are. And so we play the dope game. This is a world of dopes. How many voters voted for the current president after they had 4 years of him before? That's dope status. Yeah. We knew what we were getting, but I didn't vote for him, but I don't think any of you did. But he won. There are enough dopes out there that he won. And those dopes elected a dope. So the game in Aikido is we're really working to achieve a victory over interior dopeness. Okay? That's it. Win over yourself. Well, since they didn't talk about dopes and winning, but he said win over yourself. And that means that, you keep track of what's going on here. There's a scorecard, but there's an interior scorecard. You're easier. Because you're easier and more of a feel sense dimension, you learn about energy. Then you're doing physical movements more from the energy standpoint of the technique, but also of yourself. And there's an interior dope that wants to take over up here and out there and get caught up in all that craziness. Okay? Everybody here is intelligent because you're here. But we all fall into being a dope at the turn of a hat, unless we catch that we are, and we know what to do. We're easy there. Yeah, I did that. Yeah, okay. I'm going to be easy with it. And all of a sudden you shift into a different space. You're not the dope anymore. And after a while, you kind of have a feeling when you're heading towards dopeness, and you're easy there. You're learning to win the interior battle, therefore the exterior situations start to reflect that. Then it's a win-win. Uke gets to feel their half of the experience. You get to refine your half of the experience as Nage, and conversely, most of the time we also trade and feel both roles. Okay, so up. And oh, now you get caught up in that situation, but as she's coming in, there's a touch, and there's a touch, and there's a touch, and you present yourself with the standard Aiki Nage, okay? So right about here, you're stepping back. We were kind of working here, working inside. And here, they connected, boom. Okay, so let's go one-on-one, keep the throws this way. It's kind of your basic Aiki Nage, Aiki throw, okay? I mean, you're going to be able to beat somebody who is a Bruce Lee style kicker or a grappler like the Incredible Hulk. No, but most people come after this going, okay, good. We got that motion. Then he comes up and boom, right there, boom, boom, boom. So let's just work that basic, practice and keep the throws this way to avoid collisions. Okay, go. Okay, now we kind of want you to do a little bit. Let's move to the side of it. Okay, that's good. Coming at you again, and then you got to get ready for it. Okay, but what I want you to work a little bit on. He's coming in this direction. You create the distance. You create the distance. Okay, so once you get over there, right? So face me. Okay, good, good, good. You see how right here there's separation, isn't there? Okay, but what I want you to do is come on in. Good. Okay, and right here I am. Boom, 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 boom. Here I am. Boom, first thing you see. Boom. So don't just throw and pose. You see what I mean? You're part of a dynamic interchange, yin to yang, yang to yin, fire to water, water to fire. So throw, but represent yourself. Okay, so you connect your movements. Okay. Thank you. Okay. One thing I'd kind of like to see a little bit more. Why don't you move to the side there? Okay. There you go. You got your move. Good. Now, boom, you're right here. Come on. You're right here. Boom. Boom. Okay. And right now, you're particularly there. I mean, we don't know what Ollie was doing on the ropes, but chances are he was talking trash to Foreman to make him more, so he wasted his energy faster, right? Even though he was metaphorically taking a beating, he was doing it on his own terms, right? Yeah, here I am. Is that what you got? You're a sissy. Yeah, I'm sure he was. Yeah, I'm sure it was worse than that, right? So what I want you to do is come up. Okay. So when you're coming in, good. Now over here. So you're right about here. Okay. But we're going to see if we can kind of get to the boom. Boom. Right there. Boom. Boom. You're right there. Boom. Boom. You're right there. Boom. You get that feeling, or it's right there like that. Okay. So I'd like to see you in that flow that way a little bit more. Okay. Okay. Yeah. And that's important. See, a lot of times you throw and we disconnect, or you're right in it. Because you're both coming at me, but here's something. You turn your inner light switch on. And it stays on. But you can increase the glare factor. Somebody's going to attack you. And boom, all of a sudden, you go boom, boom, boom. There's kind of a current that goes through you. Here, the multiple stuff, you kind of need that. Right? But you're kind of learning a lot of movements is patience. Being easy. Now this, you're easy too, but if you're coming, it's like, boom, it's all right there. Boom. Right? It's there. And it stays there. But you check, okay. getting a little dim. Now I got to do it again. Now, boom, and all of a sudden, boom, you're right there. Boom, you don't do that motion. Boom, 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 boom. Okay. Yeah. So I want you to work on that a little bit more. Okay. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, yeah, yeah. See, one of the things is teach people to kind of connect the flow. Okay. For example, if you come in this direction, we say we do this motion. You can't really go like that. And then it's kind of like the energy starts to use and you come on in again. I think, right? But one of the things to do right here, boom, 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 boom. And then right here, boom, we're coming with the boom, 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 boom. And then as you're getting up, boom, boom, boom. And that's just doing the movement of boom. Then you get up again, boom, boom, boom. Okay, good, 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 good. All right? Well, we don't always emphasize that, but there's an area where you kind of want to, because when Ali got off the ropes, he knew it was his time. Right? And metaphorically speaking, we're not fighting boxing matches. This is your time, my time, our time. And a lot of that is just an attitude. But the attitude brings the energy and movement. Yeah. Okay. Anyway. Okay. Yeah. And juice. That easy space. There's a lot of juice there. And most people think they're juice and they're not easy with it. Or conversely, I'm too mental with easy. All this juice going on. And I'm going, bleh. Easy. So one of the things we're kind of looking at right here, and you don't always do this, but on the other hand, sometimes you bring this out. Okay? Right? He's coming in with this motion. We're doing that. No, now I got to do it again. Okay. Well, first thing you see is boom, here I am. Boom, 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 boom. Boom. Boom, boom. Boom, 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 boom. Boom, 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 boom. Okay? Now, you're up. Yes. And right there. Good. Now, thank you. Just sit down. You get to be the UK. Right there. Yes. Okay. Good. Thank you. Good. Okay. Good. Okay. You're up. Okay. Connect them. Okay. Let's keep the throws this way. Yes. Okay, good. Now you're up. Uh, that's good. Uh, Thank you both. One time, Sensei was teaching military. He was teaching a cadet school, and there were all these stories about him. And the cadets didn't know. I mean, how could anybody do that, right? How could anybody do that? How could anybody be that good? So they're going to say, let's find out. So Sensei used to walk a certain path to go to the military academy to teach the cadets. So they decided when he crosses this point, this alleyway, we're going to all attack him, see if he's as good as the legends say. And they did. And he threw all of them effortlessly. And so I guess he was asked, how did you know we were going to attack you? He said, I didn't. But when I was nearing that alleyway, I felt all this energy starting to come into my system. So I knew something was going to happen. I didn't know you were going to attack me, but I was getting juice for something. And then somebody asked him about that. And you know, this is again, this was him. He said, he said, that was easy. I was just standing there and everybody ran past me and took falls. It was almost like he had so much juice there that, you know, the energy around him were taking these cadets and flipping them. And he was, of course, there to kind of position those energies to come in. All right. That's magic. And, you know, there's a difference between magical, because a lot of people can be magical, but between magical and magic, there's a difference. Okay. We're still working on the magical, but there's one thing there where, you know, when you make, you know, you throw, but you make yourself available for the energy in the next exchange. You don't just stand there and wait for the attacker. Does that make sense? Yeah. It's easy to do the latter, however, isn't it? But you'd be surprised what happens with the energy level. The energy level goes way up when to some degree you're ready. You see what I mean? The whole juice in the room changes. Okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to go back to that simple Aiki throw. I want you to connect the movements. Now, this is important. You do this in short bursts. If you get tired, don't drag it out. Sit down and rest and go back. With this sort of training, it's better to do that. All right. You're going to run 5 miles. Great. But if you want certain types of training, you run wind sprints, don't you? You don't wind sprint for 5 miles unless you're Captain America with the super soldier serum in you. We have our limits. You go at that high intensity and you rest. And you go and you rest and you go and you rest. And they're both important. And even when you're resting, however, the energy is still there. But we have physical limits. So you respect those. Okay, so pair up again. Let's see if we can do that more connective style. Hello? You got a couple of minutes?
Yeah. Came from my memorial service.
Oh, yes. Okay. Keep going, keep going. Now, since you two are clear here, let's work control multiple. Now, one of the things that happens with the multiple, okay, is, for example, and all three come. I'm waiting here. You see, so one of the things about it, let's just say you come in, boom, you go, you move, you move, you move, boom, you move, boom, you move, boom, you move, you move, boom, you move, boom, boom. You initiate the move, boom. You see what I mean? And sometimes if you don't practice that, you kind of see, Ollie didn't just sit on the ropes and let Foreman punch him until Foreman got exhausted and dropped dead. Now, he might have done that, but it might have taken, and they're still receiving some punishment. You have to kind of say, okay, right about here, his juice is gone. Now it's my time. So there's a yin yang read right here. So right here, you're Ollie when you realize that Foreman's done. You're not stupid. You're not going to go out there when Foreman's so hitting you hard. But you're back there. And, yeah, and you're talking trash to him. So, he's the dope. Okay. But Ollie could be the dope if he didn't do anything. He read it. And he was the one that came out with the energy. You let Foreman exhaust his. And then, boom. Okay? So try being multiple style. You go first. But you advance. You initiate. Yes. Good, 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 good. Good, 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 good. Good. Okay. Good. Now, let's everybody line up. But you three stay out. Okay? Now, the style that we're doing, if you call it a style, is level 1. I'm spiritual. Yes, you got the right ideas. 2, I am of spirit. I'm starting to feel something. I begin to feel something. Level 3, spirit I am. You even start to talk like Yoda. So this is practice for that 3rd level. I'm spiritual. Good. I'm glad somebody is. I am of spirit. So it's not just an idea. You're starting to begin to feel, sense there's something there. Crucial. But there's that turnaround. It's like Ollie go from being the human punching bag to being world champ. World champion I am. Or here, spirit I am. Okay? So what we're going to do is, Uchenna, why don't you get out there and do that 3rd level. You are spirit. Go! Get her. Okay, good. All right. Now, Anthony. And again, this is shift. You got the right ideas. That's the beginning. I'm spiritual. I'm glad, the world needs more spiritual people. But you can't just be mentally spiritual. I am of spirit. Then all of a sudden you start to say, let's get together and create a big wave here Can't do that by myself. Of spirit. We are all of spirit. But that takes somebody who says, Spirit I am. That's that third level. This is practice for that third level. When I say go, ease the person up, you two are relentless. Go! Okay, good. Okay? Now, you get a little bit of practice. They're a little bit more advanced than you. And this happens sometimes. Steph Curry goes down. I really would like to have seen some of the younger guys step up. Okay. But those are pretty tall shoes to fill. So you get to go in there and be Jonathan Kuminga, who played well, okay? And they're more advanced than you, but you have the basics of it. You got to step into that. And again, the words change. I'm spiritual. Good. I got the right ideas. I know about it. I'm doing Aikido. Good. I am of spirit. Been around a bit, feel a bit. It's not just an idea. Spirit I am. That's how you feel when you put your belt on both. Okay. All right. Ready? Get on. Okay. Yeah, that's a good one. Right about there, you start to know. Thank you. Have a seat. Okay. Yeah. So the rest of you, it gives you something to aim for. I'm spiritual. I got the right ideas. I am of spirit. It's not just an idea. I'm beginning to feel and be present. I put some work in. But there's that turnaround right there. Spirit, I am. You start to talk like Yoda, so you know something's going on right there, right? It's a turnaround, right? The person that I knew that had that the most is Tojima Sensei. He came, visited the States for a month, May of 1979. And we took him around the area so other people could experience his classes. So we took him, at the time, I don't even know, I guess Aikido West was open, but mainly Duran Sensei's gig was Stanford University. So we took him to the Stanford University Aikido Club, which was very big in those days. And Tojima Sensei teaches this class, right? And after class, and of course, his English wasn't terribly good. He just read situations, right? And so Duran Sensei said, and now Tojima Sensei will throw you around after class. Because he read that, we used to do that in Shingo. We'd have Ano Sensei or Yanasa Sensei throw us around. But we'd never have Tojima Sensei do that. And so all of a sudden, Tojima Sensei's out there and people start attacking him. And all of a sudden, it's like he shifted into that spirit I am place. And let me tell you, they went down. Because all of a sudden, all these people started running at him to get him. And he just flipped the switch from explaining movement, teaching movement to. And so I finally went up to Duran Sensei and said, We used to do that with the other teachers, never with him. And my first year ended, I was promoted at the end of that first year in Japan, 1973. And Tojima Sensei, of the teachers, the one that I had at that time, the closest personal relationship with was Tojima Sensei. Because, he had me teach his two sons English on Saturdays. And so what would happen, uh, I would go to one of his relatives' house and we do the English lesson, then come back and he would take me to class Saturday night. Tojima Sensei could be scary in a good way. So one time, he picks me up at his relative's house and he's supposed to take me to the dojo, right? But he brings his motorcycle. He just sit in the back of the motorcycle and he's like Steve McQueen in an action movie. And I'm going, holy shit. All the way back to the dojo on this, I was going, holy crap. And guess what he did? He drove home. He got into his car. And I don't know whether he read me because my energy is going, holy crap. I don't know if I'm going to survive this. Now, he was really good. But I didn't go there to be in an action movie. Right? But that was Tojima Sensei. He kind of had that area, where you say spirit I am, which means it doesn't matter whether the Incredible Hulk is there or not. He's eye to eye with whoever's there. And he's right there ready to go. And there's a certain feel there. So I'm kind of realizing we kind of need to do more of that, especially, that has to be passed on to the younger. Yeah. And there are ways that you do it. And you are aware that you don't do that all the time. Most of the time, I would train with Tojima Sensei in the classes he taught. They were well structured. He was the only one there that talked about energy or ki. He researched it. And then we would train, when somebody else was teaching, he and I would train. He would be we would train and he would train with everybody else. And we would he would just kind of, in some joyously beat the crap out of me. And we'd be cracking up. It was something that you can't almost describe. It was like, cause he was like, okay, and so, it was funny is one time we're in a group and somebody asked why you do Aikido. And so, of course, there's somebody to translate it. And so I get my time. I said, well, I started reading about Osensei. I was doing karate, but I was interested in the spiritual side of martial arts. So I started Aikido, which is true. Then afterwards, Tojima Sensei comes up to me and says, that's crap. You're here because you want to understand power. I go, oh, really? He said, yeah. Okay. And power by itself is useless. It's a little like Foreman had all the power. What did LE have? Intelligence, enough power to realize that he wasn't going to win power to power. So he understood receptive. And he could also read Foreman and read his punches. And he knew when Foreman was trying to lose it. And I'm sure he was talking trash back. I was, oh, you got, come on, hit me harder. And then, and then of course, the funny thing, if you watch that, there's a documentary called When We Were Kings that George Plimpton did years ago. I don't know if it's even available now. And Ollie's knockout punch, Foreman didn't just fall. He spun, spiraled. And right at that point, when he fell, Ollie was ready for another one. But it's great theater because he's ready. And then Foreman's this way and he collapses. Or actually he didn't collapse. he spins, he's in an energy spiral and goes down. It's fantastic to see. Sometimes you see, would I want to be a well, I can't be a heavyweight boxer because I'm too old and too small. Okay. Would I want to be a boxer? No. But I love watching Ali. All right. And that match, I mean, he fought other fantastic matches, but that bout in Zaire is probably the best teaching tool if you're going to study Ali. All right. And sometimes you learn sports. I talk about sports because I study energy through sports. And the other thing, the rope-a-dope, there was the golden dagger where Curry put away Team France in the Olympic finals. And what's really interesting about that, 3-point shots are feathery, but he's got two world-class defenders on him, draped all over him. And somehow he falls back from 30 feet on one foot. And when that ball goes through the hoop, instead of a feathery touch, it was like a wrecking ball. Boom. There was a weight to it. And then he goes night-night because he could feel it. There was something about the energy. So whether it's Ali and Zaire or Stephen Curry in the Olympics, gold medal game, I like to follow sports because I see energy. If somebody doesn't appeal to my energetic sense, I'm not interested. LeBron James is great, but I don't watch him. He's incredibly good. But Curry is kind of master of energy. Okay. So, sometimes I bring those analogies in. Lately, I've been trying to go more into energy as energy because not everybody can follow my allusions to that stuff. But today, I hope the rope-a-dope kind of, you see, I'm not really talking about boxing at all. I'm really talking about being able to do an energy read in the situation. Who am I? What's the situation? Well, for Ali, it was George Foreman. And Ali was very honest about it. I can't beat this guy. Just going head to head with him. And reading the energy, he kind of knew what to do. And he knew when to go from the rope-a-dope guy to go out there and get him. And here we don't go out there and get anybody else. But what it is a little bit, you got to go out there some days and get who you are. And so everybody here that did the multiple looked really good. That's a kind of a black belt level multiple. We'd have to put another body in, to do about a 3Z, but that you're showing command there. You see what I mean? And that's what's important. You don't control. No way Ali could control Foreman. All Ali could do was understand self-command, forbearance, be receptive with a plan. Make him the dope. Okay? Read him, incense him, encourage him to do what the dope will do. The situation was read by Ali being the center. And then finally, the situation out there started to kind of waver. And Ali said, my time. Spirit, I am. Champion, I am. And so we can't, none of us is going to fight a heavyweight battle or play for the Olympic gold medal, but we have situations in life where we can step up, where we can claim nani nani I am. See, the Japanese language is, watakushi wa champion desu. Champion I am. The verb is always at the end. Tokyo e kairu. I'm returning to Tokyo. Verb at the end. Tokyo e iku. I'm going to Tokyo. So in some sense, if you're going to say, I am something, the verb des to be is at the end. So since they kind of have that culturally, who am I? And here you get to fill it in. That's what the practice is about. You see? You get a sense. We're not going to become world class champion famous people, but we can develop our own inner champion here. Okay. Hey, thank you very much. Slowly, everybody. Stand up, stretch your legs. Nado Sensei has this story, where Sensei, he's in Japan at world headquarters. And Sensei is in class talking about things nobody understood, like the floating bridge of heaven and call me this and call me that. And, these are some of the teachers in the world now, or most of them have actually passed on now because of that generation. And after a sensei departs, everybody stands up and, they're creaking and the those sensei, this is according to, let me tell you, I wasn't there. I didn't see this. This is the official word from Seiza, who jumps up, lands on both feet and looks at everybody and says, what's with you Japanese? And walks off the mat. So, you can argue the merits of that, but it was kind of like a I am moment. And years later, the current Doshu is here. I think it was like 2004. All right. This is many moons ago. But yeah, I think he was just Doshu. Okay. He was the heir apparent, but I think he had the title. And we're at dinner and Moriteru Yoshi's there. The Do Sensei's here. I'm there. All the other teachers are somewhere else. And so the Do Sensei tells that story. And as I remember, I was the person that was supposed to at the time translate it. And there's Moriteru, listening to this and going, and he was cool. He's very cool. I had a lot of respect for him. Listening to that outrageous story from a foreigner about the Japanese. And he was, right? Just because you got a title doesn't mean you're cool. The doshu is very cool. Now, if you're an Aikido teacher, you might not want to flirt that story. Is that cool or not? I don't know. I'm not going to judge that because we're in the Do Sensei division. Right? They're going, holy crap. I'm supposed to translate that. I did my best. I can't remember. I probably couldn't do it anymore. But being cool is kind of like with Marty Kidder. It's like going through, like he was listening. He wasn't just going, God, am I bored about this? Yeah. He was listening, soaking it in, didn't react, kind of nodded. And I was thinking, man, that guy's cool. Man, that guy's cool. He still is. I really like him. You know what I mean? And so there are forms of power. And one of them is you're cool. And the other one is there's the spirit I am place. Not everybody who's outwardly cool has that gear. Kojima Sensei, in some sense, there's, he kind of had that gear. That's not to say the other teachers didn't have it, but he was the one I was probably closest to. And so when I would watch him, I go, wow. All right. Yeah. And so, the thing is, we're not going to be heavyweight champions of the world or, win an Olympic gold medal. Probably not. But we can be cool. And we can have that spirit I am place. And when we can do that, we're kind of in our own personal version, my belief, of the floating bridge. You're easy with things. You're not having to control out of fear, disrespecting other people, races, countries, like our president is right now. But if he were here, I don't think any of you would back down. That's the spirit I am place. Yeah, you may send me to El Salvador, but it ain't going to change my thought patterns or beliefs. But I'll be respectful to the office. Thank you. Okay? Anyway, thank you for listening. Oh, let me not forget. David, uh, when I watch the videos with Elle, she has a complaint that fan is asymmetrical. And so if you could have somebody move it a little bit more, because those are equally spaced, there's a kind of a symmetry on that side, and that side's off. So she kind of is suggesting that what we do is, bring those two fans in just a little bit and place them where there's a symmetry there.
Okay.
Yeah, I know, but as I said, I don't necessarily pay attention to that stuff, but she does. Okay. And she watches the videos with me, and I got to put up with, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.